So we just discussed what I believe to be the best quirk in the My Hero Academia anime thus far, so it's only natural that we flip side and work out what we think the worst quirk is. Now, I personally believe this is a way easier conversation than the best quirk was, because there's actually a clear-cut worst of everyone we've gotten to meet and learn a bit about. I'm not counting basic things like quirks that just give you a horn or make you look different or anything like that. We're talking about quirks that are in some way viable, but still absolutely terrible. So let's get right into it with the few that you might be thinking are the worst, but I don't think are. Let's get this one right off the bat. Just because you might think Minetta is the worst character doesn't mean he has the worst quirk. A lot of people aren't big fans of Minetta due to his perverted nature and general odd tiny design. However, his quirk is extremely useful and far from being the worst. The quirk is called Pop-Off, and basically Minetta's hair forms into these weird sticky spears that will stick to anything except for him. It's essentially like sticking two same sides of a magnet towards each other when it comes into contact with one of his spears. It just bounces off. If Minetta uses his quirk too much and rips too many of the spears from his head, he'll end up bleeding quite a bit. But as the anime has progressed, he has gotten better at keeping this from happening as easily. Under Deku's leadership, his quirks were very helpful during the attack on the USJ, and it was the sole reason Minetta and Sarah were able to pass their final exam against Midnight. It's very easy to write off Minetta in general if you're not too keen on his personality or character design. But one thing is for sure, his quirk is extremely useful and far from the worst. Now for a quirk that can definitely be argued as being the worst, Aoyama's naval laser. All he does is shoot a laser, well, out of his navel. That's all his quirk has done in the anime through season 3, and if he uses it for too long, he ends up with a major stomach ache. Now the stomach problems could probably be worked on and trained to no longer happen, but that doesn't change the fact that this is still just some laser being shot. It's a very uninspired and uninteresting quirk that just belongs to, quite frankly, an even more uninteresting character. I know Aoyama had his big moments in season 3 during the training camp invasion and provisional license arc, but honestly the guy is just such a forgettable character with an even more forgettable quirk. Thankfully for him, there are a few more quirks that are pretty awful. Now, this might sound weird to say, but Mirio's quirk Permeation is also very bad. He makes it into an amazing quirk because of the training he put into it to make it that way, but without Mirio's ability to use the quirk, it on its own is no good. Permeation allows Mirio to pass through solid matter at the sacrifice of his sight, hearing, and other senses, and when his entire body is using the quirk, he just flat out clips through the ground like some sort of G-Rod abomination. It's sort of ridiculous how he needs to fight naked due to the quirk, and really nothing about this quirk is ideal, even if you formulated a good way to use it. It seems like Mirio's success is more so despite the drawbacks as opposed to using them to his advantage. It doesn't really matter just how great a quirk's user is, it doesn't magically make a quirk any better. How about we talk about a villain now? Blade Tooth is Moonfish's quirk, and it's both disgusting and stupid. His teeth become long and jagged and metal, and that's it. That is literally all this guy is capable of. It'd be one thing if he could grow his teeth and break one off and use it as a sword or a knife or something to that effect, but instead he just leaves them in his mouth and actually expects to beat someone like that. He's a dangerous guy, don't get me wrong, but the UA students were able to beat him still. Well, Dark Shadow beat him, but you get the point. It's an impressive quirk in theory, but my god, is it so poorly executed and ridiculous. Though I do wonder if he broke off one of the blades to use a weapon like I suggested prior. Would the tooth grow back? Is Moonfish like a shark? Honestly, if he had just been a shark man with sword teeth, that would have been much cooler. Oh yeah, speaking of aquatic animals, there's Gang Orca. His whole quirk is just that he is an orca whale on land. The quirk is called Orcanus, and basically he can do everything an orca can do, whether in the ocean or running about on land. It's definitely not the worst quirk because it offers him the usual suspects of quirks like super strength, speed, and durability. However, the idea of it is so silly and kind of stupid that it can make some people really believe it is the worst quirk out there. A really good part of the quirk is his ability to produce hypersonic waves, which can easily disable an enemy instantly and stop them in their tracks. While he may look stupid and his whole concept is ridiculous, Gang Orca's quirk is definitely not the worst, not by a long shot. Toru is just invisible. That's her quirk. There is nothing to her except for the fact that nobody can see her, and that's definitely not the most interesting quirk. However, if Susan Storm is anything to go by, being invisible can definitely be a successful power to be gifted with, and that really saves Hagakure from having the worst quirk. There are plenty of uses for being invisible, and she could really help out in a stealth situation. Some people might think she's useless and very underpowered in comparison to her classmates and other characters in the series, but I see her as being a situational asset. There are many worse quirks out there. The principal of UA, Nezu, doesn't have a very flashy quirk himself. His quirk basically just allows him to be a very sentient animal. Imagine some weird bear dog rat thing walking around in a vest and trying to hold a conversation with you about battle strategies. That is the extent of his quirk. There are definitely uses to having someone as smart and strategic as Nezu around, but he joins a long list of characters we have mentioned that has borderline unimpressive and uninteresting quirks. It's got a lot of usage, so I'm not going to say it's the worst one, but it's down there. Finally, before I get to what I think is the worst quirk, I'm going to talk about what I think is the second worst quirk, Sero's tape. He just shoots tape from his elbows. That's all it is. We've talked about a set of teeth that can make a dentist cry, a beached whale, a naked girl you can't see, and a naked guy you can see where he has to breathe. And now we're talking about a human tape dispenser who somehow made it into the top class of the first years at the world's most prestigious hero academy, UA. I will hand it to Sero though. It's kind of cool to see him act like Spider-Man and swing around on his tape, but that's like it. His quirk is useless unless you've got a torn document you need to fix quickly or a leaky pipe. Honestly, it's just tape. Someone could pretend to be this guy just by buying a large supply of tape and throwing it around as best as you can. If you thought I was being a bit harsh of Sero, then hold on to your seats because it's gonna get worse. The worst quirk is Ojiro's tail. I can't even fathom how anybody can see him and not immediately think he's a joke. The tail is extremely difficult for this kid to live with, making it hard for him to sit or lay down and driving up his tailoring bills for all the custom clothing he ends up needing. It's a strong appendage, sure, being able to destroy metal, but it's no different from having a third arm that makes your normal life extremely inconvenienced. Sero making it to 1A is enough of a head scratcher. But Ojiro, it's absolutely nuts that he was able to use hand-to-hand combat, along with incorporating his tail, to place as high as he did in the quirk apprehension test. If you're an Ojiro fan, I'm sorry if it seems like I'm really being rough with him, but come on. You've got to agree that his quirk is so underwhelming, so uninspired that it, without a doubt, is the worst quirk showed off in the anime thus far. If there is a villain with 3 arms that was threatening to destroy the planet, almost someone can beat him in an arm wrestling match, then I guess Ojiro would be helpful. And that's only if Shoji is unavailable. I'm gonna stop burying this guy before it gets sad, but honestly, Ojiro's tail is the worst quirk. That's it. That's all. I'd like to know what you guys think though. Let me know in the comments down below what you think the worst quirk has been in the first 3 seasons of My Hero Academia. Try not to talk about the manga so that we don't spoil anyone that is anime only. Also, please remember to check out all the videos I've put out and will be putting out this August over here on Mystic Sage, including the video where we discuss the best quirk. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and consider subscribing with notifications on. I'm Mystic Sage and I'll see you soon with even more anime content.